This is Michaela McLean, and you're listening to Beauty by Design. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here. It's time to talk about our next gate 32. But before we do, of course, just reminding you, if you have not yet downloaded my free guide to human design basics, go grab that. It gives you just a nice little nugget of details on each of the types, the strategy, authority, all that good stuff. And then it's going to lead you to the correct $11 Aura type masterclass where you're going to get your type, strategy, authority, not self, signature, deconditioning tips, like everything you need to know to really start living the human design experiment all in an hour class. Um, I mean, it's got it all, right? Visuals, even keywords and things built within it. And that's obviously it's me doing it. So I clearly highly recommend that. And I always encourage people to go back and rewatch them periodically or just listen to them like a podcast because it is such valuable information to living your design. And then, of course, I have my energetic beauty sleep, the yoga nidra, one for every single type and authority combination so that you can totally bypass the conscious mind and just start living your design. So these are meant to be listened to at bedtime, when you're napping, when you're resting. Yoga Nidra has so many health and beauty benefits. And then this has the frequencies layered in, beautiful affirmations, and then, of course, like all this human design information to help you just, again, start living your experiment. That's the most important part. I always say it's like this is not meant to be lived through the mind or just understood as knowledge. It's like, okay, it's bodily wisdom when you can start implementing it. So that's kind of the cool thing. You get those delta waves pumping out during yoga nidra, and then you're just like, all right, I'm receiving all of this in the most relaxed state possible. Okay, so of course, go follow me over on Instagram if you're not already at Michaela McLean, where I post a ton of stuff, all related to human design and self-love and acceptance and beauty being an energetic thing. So anyway, let's get on to the episode. Everything's in the show notes too, of course. You know that. Okay, reminder, don't try to understand this at the mental level. Don't let the sound current, the energy, the frequency of beauty just sink into your cells like good skincare. Okay, so 32, we are continuing to progress through Libra into gate 32 in human design, located in the spleen and part of the tribal ego circuitry. So, tribal energy, squad goals, girl gang, it's the hippie commune. That's my favorite way to describe it. It's like everybody's contributing toward the survival of the whole, for the betterment of their tribe. And to start with the center, I call the spleen. Oh, excuse me. Let me back up and just say tribal circuitry is support. That's its keynote. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. So starting with the spleen, starting with the energy center. The spleen, I call it our inner caveman or inner wild animal. It's our survival awareness center. And like all of the awareness centers, which there are three in the body graph, its low expression is about fear and anxiety. And specifically with the spleen, it's primal fears, basically just straight up survival. It's afraid of like, am I going to make it to tomorrow? But in its elevated expression, this governs instincts and intuition. It's not logical or sensical. It's intuitive instincts, period. And it's existential. What is it? Like the awareness of being. And it's the oldest center in the body graph. So it is awareness in the moment. Physically, it correlates with the lymphatic and the immune systems. Okay, so actually I did. I already here I'm like, let me back up and say this is about support. Well, it is about support. Here I have a note to myself because ego specifically is about money making, material plane stuff, business, providing. Okay, so this is part of that because there's subcircuitry. I won't go there, but just know this is tribal ego. Okay, so 32 is known as duration. It's the gate of continuity. And the keynote here is the fear of failure, awareness of what can be transformed or not. Fear of failure holds you back from doing what you want to do. And I always call 32 the talent scout. And it's low expression, the whole fear of failure thing, and that's huge. It has big dreams, but can be afraid to pursue them. It questions, how do I keep things going along safely and successfully? It's looking for the gifted, talented allies, but it's worried, that others won't actually measure up. It's also fearful of a lack of material resources for the self and for the tribe. It's conservative, it's careful, it wants things to be steady and secure. Meanwhile, we all know change is the only constant in life. And that's where that fear and anxiety, basically, it's just like it's always there. Um, it knows there's always potential for failure. If things are always changing, then there's the potential that stuff will fail, right? But evolution is how things improve. They just have to be open to it. And then the high expression is that this gate sees, and that's really specific. It sees and susses out what is valuable, what is worth the time, the effort, and what isn't. Kind of like a talent scout, as I mentioned, for the tribe, it's got the gift of recognizing what or who in the group and the tribe has the necessary gifts, skills, education to be successful at something. And then it uses its natural sway, making sure that those people are seen and appreciated for their abilities by people higher up the food chain who will help propel the entire group forward. So it's always seeing, evaluating, like I said, sussing out what is and isn't working and always striving to kind of like improve. And it's really about endurance at the end of the day. It's keeping your eye on the prize, holding the vision, and adapting as necessary, refining as you go. I'm like, so if you have 32, it's like flex your intuitive sense on what will and won't be successful and then modify and act accordingly. So in the gene keys, the shadow of this one is failure, the gift is preservation, and the city is veneration. And the gene keys states one of the greatest fears that haunts humanity is found in the 32nd shadow, the fear of failure. This fear has a deep biological root since it is built into your very DNA. Our early hominid ancestors had exactly the same fears as we do today, even though they may have manifested differently. Your individual fear of failure is rooted in the collective fear of failure to survive as a species. One of the first realizations that our ancestors had was that we had a better chance of survival if we stayed together and operated in packs. The pack or tribe consisted of a network of individuals and families, all with different skills and responsibilities, which, when pooled together, enormously improved the chances of survival. In prehistoric times, if an individual became isolated or ostracized from the group, it almost certainly spelled death. Although this fear of the shadow has its roots deep within the human immune system, it is the mind that reacts to and feeds off of it. If you are not in control of your mind or aware of its power, then your mind will run your life, which means that fear will run your life. To raise the consciousness of the mind is to escape the grip of all fear. And he says of the gift, the 32nd gift is called the gift of preservation. It is a truly noble gift because it's about seeing beyond your own little world, which means going beyond selfishness. The 32nd gift is about keeping things alive. However, it is not about keeping just anything alive. It is about knowing what to keep alive. As we saw with the repressive side of this 32nd shadow, this gene key can just as easily lead to the preservation of things that really do not serve the human race, such as fundamentalism. However, the person who has raised the frequency of this gene key can see beyond the confines of their fear based thinking, and they find that they have an instinctive gift for investment. Investment can be understood on many levels. If the 32nd gene key is a major aspect of your hologenetic profile, then you have the potential of a powerful instinct for sensing the long term picture in all situations. People with this gift often have a deep capacity for restraint. They have the strength to withhold their energy or money from situations that appear tempting, but that in the long term would not serve them. By the same token, this gift enables people to trust in an instinct, especially about other people, that often does not appear to be at all logical, but that in the end will be extremely beneficial to them and to many others. The secret to this gift is the instinctive ability to balance restraint, meaning what to keep alive, and risk, what to change. These are people who inherently know that if you want to maintain success in life, you have to have an unflinching set of principles, coupled with a constant need to update, revolutionize, and expand your original investment. This 30-second gift is the gift of grafting, which is the essence of true preservation. You have to retain that which is strong, the rootstock, and then you have to graft the new onto that which is strong. In this way, you will always maximize your energies. This gift of grafting can be applied across any and every field of human endeavor. Detachment is also an essential aspect of this process since you will have to let go of your own notion of failure. It is usually the fear of failure that prevents human beings from adapting to a new system. The other great domain of the 30-second gift is relationships. People with this gift in their hologenetic profile have an instinct for who will make a good ally and who will not. They don't just see individuals, they see interrelationships between many different people as well. Thus, they have a natural understanding of hierarchies and the continuity of those relationships within the hierarchy. Because of this, they can be invaluable within any business or community. Given their gift of restraint, they can also sometimes appear at first glance to be quite conservative. However, each of the 64 gifts is essentially a balancing act between the two extremes of the shadow. Hence, people with this gift are neither too conservative nor too haphazard. They simply have the gift of knowing when to be one or the other. In this respect, they really hold the future of the planet in their hands. If these people cannot overcome their fear of personal failure and selfishness, we, humanity, are all at risk. However, if they rise above that fear and move beyond the selfish tendencies of the shadow frequency, they can be the most vehement defenders and preservers of our earth. Okay, so my notes here. This is part of a projected channel. So projectables apply, seen, recognized, and invited. Of course, the spleen is super intuitive, and so it definitely has extra sensory gifts. 32 being kind of clairvoyant, it sees what will and won't work, and is always, of course, evaluating things. It also has this ability to smell success. Tribal energy, it also is highly tactile. So meaning wanting to be, close up close and personal and be able to like touch and feel. Okay. So the programming partner for this one, of course, so Sun is in 32 in Libra. The Earth is automatically opposite in Aries, gate 42. And 42 is known as increase the gate of growth. The keynote here is closes a cycle and brings things to an end. So this gate is one of those like take it across the finish line, getting things done, type of vibe. But it's really interesting because it's in the collective abstract sensing circuitry. And so sometimes people that have this don't realize that they have this true need for closure and don't always get it. And if you have 42 and you're not entering into things correctly in life according to your strategy and authority, you're going to find, like you're stuck in cycles you can't get out of. Um, you'll enter into things and you're like, there needs to be proper closure, basically, is what it comes down to. It's like you need to enter into things correctly, close it out correctly, again, according to strategy and authority, and then everything's going to be great. But it's like life is an experience in that circuitry. You can't plot it out. You just have to sort of like let it go. And then when you get to the end of these cycles and people with it, it's like it's more distinct for them, I believe. It's like, wow, okay, I'm getting closure on this, really reviewing like what worked, what didn't, and then kind of being aware of what lessons here should I take on and move forward with what makes sense, to kind of um, you know, progress to the next cycle, holding on to. Um, again, nurturing, growing something to its fullest expression and then putting a bow on it, like, okay. And there's a maturity that develops within this particular energy. It's like, hey, mistakes have been made, but also there's been success. And, I've learned from all of it. And now I'm going to share, right? Collective circuitry, share with everyone what we've learned. And then we move on to the next one. Okay, so then the gate that completes the channel is Capricorn Gate 54, forming the channel of transformation, a design of being driven. And 54 is known as the marrying maiden. It's the gate of drive. And this one is the pressure to achieve, rise up, to transform. This energy is all about ambition, achievement, and ascending the mountain of success on the material plane. Okay, so the low expression of 54 is greed, just the desire to acquire money, status, all that stuff, especially just for the self alone, versus it being about the group, their whole crew, their tribe. Um, Again, I mean, I have a few people in my life that it's very prominent and it's like, wow, they really want to be seen for this as well. Um, Very, very driven by, like I said, money, status, all that jazz. But, 54, like in its high expression, is really about aspiring for more with the tribe in mind. It's coming from the root. This is an evolutionary pressure, this ability, to provide more for your offspring, give your kids a better life than the one that you got, right? Each generation is trying to do that. Like, oh, I want my kids to have more experiences, more opportunities, whatever. It's natural. It's like that you may make more money than your parents did and your grandparents and, like live in a nicer house, like all of those things. It's doesn't have to be a bad thing. You're like, oh, if I'm doing this for my people, right? That's always the thing at the end of the day. It's like 54 when it's just for the self alone. That's shadowy, You want to be doing this for the people around you, and helping everyone evolve and rise up and do better, right? Um, and then at the end of the day, too, it's really important that it's like your material needs are met. I always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs with 54 because you need to satisfy those basics before anybody can transcend and then actually be able to focus on bigger things like spirituality and self-actualization. If you don't have food, shelter, safety, you can't evolve and do more. You can't expect the same out of, I mean, it's just facts, right? It's like some poor child who doesn't even know where like their next meal is coming from and maybe doesn't live in a safe home and all of that. It's like, are we going to expect them to be the valedictorian, or whatever? It's like, and then people that do have all the opportunities, it's like, yeah, you need those basics fulfilled by your tribe, by the people raising you so that you can go on and do more. And then again, like the cycle repeats, you're always going to push and do better for the next generation, for the people that you bring into this world. So anyway, gate 32, when they come together, right? We have 32, which is the intuitive instincts of that little talent scout, being in the spleen, fueled up by the powerful adrenal pressure coming from the root, that drive to rise up, coming up to connect. 54 is like the gas and 32 is kind of acting like the brake. Because 54 is like, let's just go. Let's do it. Let's rise up. Let's rise up. And 32 is like, hey, what are we going to focus on? Like, where are we going to put our attention? It's more like the managerial side of this. So when the two come together to form the channel of transformation, it's about being recognized for your intense drive, ambition, willingness to go the distance, to keep grinding, and also seeing the value in others. This channel needs allies. It needs a crew to support and receive support in return from. It's an energy that wants to climb the ladder of success, specifically material and, financial success, and then hopefully bring their entire tribe up with them. Like I said, it can fear that the tribe doesn't necessarily have the goods to deliver on, like, where I'm sorry, I'm gonna have an NFL analogy, but it was like, oh, we signed this great quarterback, and you're like, yeah, but the rest of the team, isn't pulling their weight. Like the offense, isn't doing its job, and now he's getting sacked all the time, or like whatever. You know where I'm going with this, but it's like you can't just have like one star player. It's like no, the whole team has to function synergistically so that everybody can get to the Super Bowl. Sorry for that. The only thing that just came to my mind instantly of like, how does this make sense? How does it work? Um, so the goal here is to be recognized and have your time increase in value. It'd be like, providing a service. Say you are an esthetician and it's like, oh, well, I used to charge X. bucks for I used to charge $95 for a facial, but over time, like I've really honed my skills and now I charge $300 for a facial or $500. It's like your time becomes more valuable the more that you have perfected things. So that basically what it's doing, because this is a projected channel, just because you have this full channel doesn't, there's other things going on in your chart, but this channel specifically is projected energy. So right there, it's like it wants to acquire and stockpile enough to rest. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty bitter and salty. Naturally, people with this channel are going to have to work hard in life. Like it's just hard work is built into them, but they have to be careful about what kind of work they are willing to do to earn that fortune and who's inviting them to do it. Right? Well, projector thing there, inviting. This channel is a workaholic if it's out of alignment. They can be caught trying to prove their value by working and grinding the hardest versus recognizing their own value within themselves. And again, considering that the channel itself is a projected energy, it really needs to manage the work rest cycle and the self recognition first. Like, hey, I am awesome. I've got the goods, I've got the drive, and this attunement to success. Versus like being out there trying to prove itself to somebody else. So a little side note, physical medicine is good for these people if you have this full channel to basically work out those potential fears and anxieties that can you know, live in this area of the chart. Okay, astrologically, this pairing is Libra, gate 32, squaring Capricorn in 54, and squares in astrology, excuse me, cause friction that ultimately encourage change and growth, right? Again, pressure to rise up. And then 32 is like, yes, yes, let's do this. No, let's not do that. That's not going to work. This one will, it's a little friction there, but it's like that, again, that refinement of just like, we gotta do better. It's like, all right, but let's hone it. And then of course, this is happening in the third quarter of the wheel. It's evaluating people and relationships within the group or the tribe. But 32 without 54, it can lack the consistent drive and ambition for success. So that's an interesting thing to consider with relationships. Like it's tribal. 32 kind of needs somebody with the 54, even if it doesn't have the full channel itself. Like me, I have 32 twice. It's my Pluto, but I do not have the 54. So it's beneficial to be around people that provide that consistent pressure to rise up. And I'm like, yeah, this will work. This won't work. Um, so, look at your chart, check it out, see, uh, whether you have it or not and how this sits with you. But I would definitely say it's like this is a time of, you letting go of what you know is truly dead weight and moving forward with what you know deep down will win, even if other people don't see it, right? So it's like, hey, take a look at your people, your community, who do you know that can help you mutually, it's a two-way street. You guys mutually experience more success. Because again, this is about endurance and going farther together. When you pool those resources and the positive qualities, you just keep showing up for yourself and your tribe, and everybody's going to get there. Okay, so of course, make sure you're following me over on Instagram where I post those weekly tips of how to actually make this information tangible, whether it's crystals, oils, frequencies, different things, to just help you, integrate this energy. And of course, do you have this in your chart at all? Look over the spleen. It's on the left-hand side of the triangle and it's pointing down toward the bottom, pointing toward the root to 54. If it's black, red, or red and black, you have it defined in your chart. If it's white, you don't have it. But look to the other side. Maybe you are a 54 person and maybe you don't have any of it at all. That's fine. You're experiencing it right now through the transits, but then also other people in your life. So it's just fun to observe and check your family charts, check your friends, check whomever, and see what you can glean from that. Okay, I will be back soon with more. Of course, I would love it if you would leave this episode a 5-star rating and review, or the entire show, basically. It just helps it all get pushed out to more people. So on Apple Podcasts, if you can do that, that is fantastic and so deeply appreciated. If you want to learn more human design, of course, got that free guide, the master classes, the yoga nidras, all that good stuff. and of course, all kinds of new cool things that I'm working on. So just stay tuned. All right. Of course, until next time, have a beautiful day.